There's a certain kind of woman who doesn't need to speak loudly to be heard. She doesn't chase attention, she commands it. Her power isn't in what she shows, but in what she withholds. The world may call her mysterious, intimidating, or dangerously seductive, but she simply calls it being herself. Presence is an invisible language. It speaks before a word is uttered, before a smile is shown, before anyone realizes why they've turned to look. When a woman possesses true presence, she doesn't need to demand attention. It finds her naturally. It's not about beauty, glamour, or perfection. It's about the energy she carries when she walks into a room. There is something almost magnetic about calm assurance. It's the quiet confidence of someone who knows who she is without needing to prove it. That's what makes presence so dangerously seductive. It's silent, but it dominates the space around it. A woman with strong presence doesn't rush. Her movements are deliberate, her tone unhurried, her eyes steady. She understands that power is not in speed but in control. There's an unspoken grace in her patience. When she listens, she really listens, not to respond but to absorb. People feel seen in her silence, respected in her attention. That kind of focus is rare, and that's what draws others in. In a world full of noise and constant distraction, her ability to remain grounded becomes almost intoxicating. Presence is also about awareness. She's aware of herself, how she moves, how her energy affects others, how her stillness can say more than her words ever could. She doesn't fidget, over-explain, or shrink. Instead, she exists with intention. Every gesture has purpose. Every glance feels measured. It's as if her entire being is saying, "I belong here," without needing to justify it. And that quiet certainty is what people remember long after she's gone. But presence isn't arrogance. It's not a wall of superiority. It's a blend of humility and confidence. It's the art of knowing that you don't need to be the loudest to be the most powerful. True presence carries softness. It welcomes rather than intimidates. It's rooted in self-respect, not ego. When a woman radiates this kind of confidence, she doesn't compete or compare. She simply exists in her own light. And that's what makes her magnetic. People can sense authenticity. It's the subtle difference between someone performing confidence and someone living it. There's also a stillness that accompanies presence. It's not emptiness, it's depth. It's the calm in the middle of chaos, the pause that commands attention without effort. A woman who can remain composed when the world is loud displays a strength that can't be faked. Her stillness becomes her statement. It says, "I am in control of myself." And that is one of the most seductive forms of power. It's not dominance through noise, but influence through balance. True presence is timeless. It doesn't depend on fashion, trends, or attention spans. It's something cultivated from within. It grows from self-awareness, from emotional intelligence, from knowing one's value even when no one else notices. It's the kind of energy that lingers, the kind people recall later and struggle to explain. They'll say, "There was just something about her," without realizing it was her centeredness, her peace, her quiet strength that captivated them. In essence, presence is mastery of the moment. It's being fully alive in one's body, in one's thoughts, in one's emotions, without trying to control how others perceive it. It's not about trying to be noticed, it's about being. And the paradox is that the less a woman tries to impress, the more she naturally does. She becomes a reflection of confidence that doesn't shout, attention that doesn't chase, beauty that doesn't beg to be seen. Presence is not a performance, it's the soul's calm declaration of certainty. And that calmness has a pull stronger than any words could ever deliver. Mystery through restraint is an art, a quiet seduction that thrives in what is not revealed. It's the power of suggestion, the elegance of control, the decision to hold something back when the world is obsessed with showing everything. There's something undeniably magnetic about a woman who doesn't feel the need to expose all that she is at once. She invites curiosity rather than giving instant access. Her mystery doesn't come from pretending. It comes from her ability to preserve her inner world, to let others wonder, to allow intrigue to grow slowly. Restraint is not weakness, it's the mastery of self. In a culture that equates openness with connection, restraint is rebellion. The mysterious woman understands that connection doesn't require full exposure. She shares selectively, choosing what deserves to be seen and what should remain sacred. That boundary creates tension, and tension is the heartbeat of Allure. People lean in to understand her, to decode her, to feel closer, but she never allows complete access. She keeps parts of herself hidden, not out of fear, but out of respect for her own complexity. She knows that mystery is not about secrecy, it's about discernment. It's knowing the difference between what is private and what is intimate. Restraint builds fascination because it defies expectation. Most people rush to fill silence with words, to fill space with action, to fill uncertainty with explanation. But the woman who can pause, who can let a question linger, who can smile without offering the reason behind it, she creates an emotional gravity that pulls others closer. Every unspoken thought, every withheld detail becomes a story waiting to be discovered. And that waiting, that anticipation, becomes intoxicating. Restraint leaves room for imagination. And imagination is where desire lives. There's also a quiet confidence that comes with this kind of mystery. It's the understanding that she doesn't owe anyone access to her inner world. Her restraint says, I don't need to prove myself through oversharing. She doesn't seek validation through constant revelation. Instead, she finds power in her ability to choose. She knows that what is rare becomes valuable, and what is freely given loses its depth. By not showing everything, she teaches others to look deeper, to earn understanding rather than assume it. That kind of energy demands both respect and attention. Mystery through restraint is also emotional discipline. It's knowing when to speak and when silence says more. It's choosing to express emotion with intention instead of impulse. It's feeling deeply, but showing only what serves the moment. This doesn't mean emotional coldness. It's about control, about valuing the weight of one's emotions instead of scattering them carelessly. There's power in being able to feel everything and still choose composure. That contrast between depth and restraint creates an aura that feels rare, timeless, and irresistibly magnetic. Restraint doesn't mean distance. It can coexist with warmth, with kindness, with compassion. The mysterious woman doesn't push people away. She simply doesn't allow herself to be consumed. She invites interest without surrendering her essence. People sense that there's more beneath her calm surface, layers that can't be easily reached, emotions that run deep but are never chaotic. It's that balance, being open enough to connect but contained enough to maintain individuality, that makes her unforgettable. Mystery through restraint teaches that allure isn't about perfection or performance. It's about mastery of timing and intention. It's about knowing that not everything needs to be said, that silence can be seductive, that curiosity can be stronger than revelation. When a woman embraces restraint, she becomes like a story that can't be finished in one sitting, a story that lingers, that calls the reader back, that holds its power not in its ending, but in everything it refuses to fully explain. Confidence without validation is a quiet force that radiates from within. It's not about arrogance or dominance. It's about self-assurance that doesn't depend on external approval. A woman who embodies this kind of confidence moves through life with a steady rhythm, guided by her own sense of worth rather than by the opinions of others. She understands that validation is fleeting, that praise can shift, that applause can fade, but self-belief, when rooted in truth, remains unshaken. This kind of confidence is dangerously seductive because it feels rare in a world where so many people seek permission to feel enough. True confidence begins where comparison ends. It's the moment she stops measuring her value against anyone else and starts owning her individuality. She doesn't compete, she creates. She doesn't mimic, she defines. She understands that what makes her powerful isn't her ability to meet someone else's standard, but her ability to honor her own. When she walks, speaks, or simply stands still, there's a sense of calm authority that follows her. People can feel it before she even says a word. It's not loud or attention-seeking. It's steady, grounded, and magnetic. This is the confidence that whispers instead of shouts, yet somehow commands every gaze in the room. Confidence without validation also means she doesn't need to over-explain herself. She doesn't chase understanding from those who misread her because she knows her truth doesn't require defense. When she makes a choice, it's because it aligns with her values, not because she's seeking applause. That independence of thought is captivating. It reveals a woman who trusts her own judgment and intuition, who's comfortable in uncertainty because she knows her center won't easily be shaken. Others may question her, but she rarely questions herself, and that unwavering clarity becomes irresistible. At the heart of this confidence is self-acceptance. She acknowledges her flaws without letting them define her. She celebrates her strengths without flaunting them. There's no performance, no facade, just a deep, quiet understanding that she is whole as she is. This authenticity disarms people because it's real. It's not curated confidence for display. It's lived confidence built through experience, reflection, and resilience. She doesn't need validation because she validates herself daily, through her actions, her boundaries, her decisions, and her ability to keep showing up even when unnoticed. Confidence without validation also manifests in how she handles rejection or indifference. When faced with dismissal, she doesn't crumble or question her worth. She simply adjusts, learns, and moves forward. She knows that the opinions of others are reflections, not definitions. This emotional independence is powerful. It allows her to remain peaceful in moments where others might seek reassurance. That kind of emotional control is seductive because it represents freedom. Freedom from needing to be chosen, from needing to be liked, from needing to be understood. Another layer of this confidence is the grace to uplift others without feeling diminished. Because her value isn't dependent on external validation, she can celebrate others without envy. She can admire beauty without insecurity, witness success without comparison. That self-security creates an aura of ease. She's not in competition with anyone, she's simply aligned with herself. People are drawn to that kind of peace because it's rare and real. It feels safe yet powerful, grounded yet radiant. Confidence without validation is not an act of isolation. It's an act of ownership. It's the decision to live by internal standards rather than external noise. It's the understanding that true worth doesn't fluctuate with opinions or trends. When a woman reaches that place, she no longer seeks permission to exist boldly. She becomes her own source of approval, her own mirror, her own anchor. And that unshakable self-trust, the quiet knowledge that she is enough regardless of who notices, becomes the most magnetic energy she could ever possess. The balance of softness and strength is one of the most captivating expressions of feminine power. It's the coexistence of tenderness and resilience, empathy and independence, grace and grit. A woman who embodies this balance moves with a rhythm that feels both calming and commanding. She doesn't need to choose between being gentle or being powerful. She understands that her true magnetism lies in her ability to be both. It's a delicate harmony that makes her presence unforgettable because she can soothe and challenge, nurture and lead, love deeply and still walk away when respect fades. Softness is not weakness. It's emotional intelligence, the ability to stay kind in a world that often rewards cruelty. It's the strength to remain open-hearted after disappointment, to listen instead of react, to care without losing oneself. There's an incredible depth in a woman who can be vulnerable without being fragile. Her softness invites connection, trust, and understanding. It allows people to see her humanity not as an invitation for exploitation, but as a mirror of authenticity. This kind of softness is disarming. It reaches people not through force, but through truth. It's the quiet assurance that compassion can be stronger than control. Strength, on the other hand, is her foundation. It's the unyielding sense of self that anchors her when emotions run high. It's her discipline, her boundaries, her refusal to be defined by fear or expectation. Her strength isn't about dominance, it's about self-respect. She knows when to speak up, when to walk away, and when silence says more than confrontation. Her strength gives her the freedom to stand alone, to endure uncertainty, and to rebuild when everything falls apart. It's what allows her softness to exist safely, because her strength protects it. The magic happens where these two forces meet. When a woman carries both softness and strength, she becomes unpredictable in the most graceful way. She can hold a room with her composure, then melt hearts with her warmth. She can listen without judgment, yet never tolerate disrespect. She can forgive without forgetting and love without losing herself. That duality makes her fascinating because she cannot be easily categorized. She's not too much of anything, she's complete in her complexity. People sense that balance instinctively, and it draws them in. It's not drama that surrounds her, it's depth. The balance of softness and strength also shows in how she handles adversity. When life tests her, she bends but doesn't break. Her softness allows her to adapt, to feel, to learn. Her strength allows her to rise, to protect, to continue. Together, they create resilience, a kind that isn't hardened by pain but refined by it. She understands that being strong all the time is exhausting and being soft all the time is unsafe. So she becomes both a woman who can be tender in love and unyielding in principle, gentle in words and firm in truth. This balance isn't something inherited, it's cultivated. It comes from knowing oneself deeply, from embracing the parts that society tells women to suppress. Many are taught to choose, to be sweet or assertive, nurturing or ambitious, but she refuses to be limited. She understands that real power doesn't come from extremes, it comes from integration. Her softness gives her empathy, her strength gives her direction, and together they make her unstoppable. She doesn't have to harden to survive, nor does she have to shrink to be loved. She simply exists as she is, soft enough to feel and strong enough to endure, creating a presence that lingers long after she's gone. Authenticity, as the ultimate magnetism, is the essence of true allure. It's the power that comes from being genuine, unfiltered, and unapologetically oneself. In a world filled with performance and perfection, authenticity stands out like calm water in a storm. It doesn't beg to be noticed, yet it captures attention effortlessly because it feels real. People are instinctively drawn to what feels honest. They sense when someone is living from truth rather than imitation, and that natural honesty becomes irresistible. A woman who embodies authenticity doesn't pretend to fit, she allows herself to be, and that freedom is what makes her magnetic. Authenticity begins with self-awareness. It's the quiet knowing of who you are when the world isn't watching. It's understanding your values, desires, strengths, and even your shadows. A woman who is authentic isn't trying to appear perfect. She's at peace with her imperfections. She doesn't hide behind a facade to gain approval because she knows that no amount of pretending can replace genuine confidence. Her energy feels refreshing because it isn't forced. She's comfortable in silence, unbothered by misunderstanding, and uninterested in convincing anyone of her worth. That level of self-possession becomes captivating because it's rare. When a woman chooses authenticity, she chooses truth over image. She no longer molds herself to meet expectations or suppresses parts of her personality to be liked. She's kind, but not at the expense of her boundaries. She's confident, but not detached from empathy. Her honesty gives her clarity, and her clarity gives her peace. People may not always agree with her, but they respect her consistency. There's a deep kind of beauty in someone who no longer needs to perform to be accepted. Her very presence becomes permission for others to be more themselves too. Authenticity is also emotional honesty. It's the ability to express feelings without manipulation or disguise. She can admit when she's hurt, uncertain, or afraid, yet she doesn't dwell in those emotions. She moves through them. That openness isn't weakness, it's courage. It takes strength to live transparently in a world that thrives on masks. This emotional truth creates connection, the kind that feels safe and sincere. When she speaks, people listen because her words carry weight. They come from experience, from reflection, from living genuinely rather than pretending to have it all figured out. The magnetism of authenticity lies in its freedom. There's nothing more alluring than someone who has nothing to prove. She doesn't chase validation because she's already aligned with her own essence. That kind of self-assured calmness draws attention without effort. Others feel it as ease, the sense that she's not performing or pretending, just being. This comfort with herself radiates outward. She laughs without restraint, speaks with conviction, and carries silence with grace. Her authenticity becomes an energy field, one that attracts those who value depth over drama, honesty over illusion. Authenticity also reshapes how she loves and connects. She gives without pretending, listens without judgment, and walks away when peace is threatened. Her relationships become reflections of her truth, balanced, grounded, and mutually respectful. Because she's real, she invites realness in return. Her magnetism doesn't manipulate, it inspires. People trust her not because she's flawless, but because she's transparent. They feel safe in her company because there's no hidden agenda, only presence. Living authentically isn't effortless, it's a daily act of courage. It requires releasing the need to please, the fear of rejection, and the habit of comparison. Yet once embraced, it becomes liberation. A woman who is truly herself becomes unforgettable, not because she tries to stand out, but because she can't blend in. Her uniqueness shines without needing to be amplified. She becomes a quiet force of nature, real, grounded, luminous in her truth. And in that truth lies the most powerful form of magnetism there is.